So, let's talk about Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. But before we get into the film, I would like to talk about Avatar: The Way of Water. And I can even say that this is probably a big step up from the first film. We got a lot vibrant CGI and great motion capture from the water seems to be a lot more vibrant. Some decent character development, and actually an emotional story to look at. So I can definitely consider this a big step up from the first film, even if that one was terrible. It felt kind of weak, so I say that the sequel is worth watching. That's why I'm giving this an 8 out of 10, and with the seal of good. But back on track with Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Since this is the sequel to the first Puss in Boots film, I know that the first one isn't really the best films of DreamWorks, since it was released at a time where not many people were used to seeing Shrek films nowadays. But when I watched this film, I actually kind of find this to be pretty underrated, and I consider this to be not just the best, but one of the better DreamWorks films. So I'll give that Puss in Boots is one of the better ones when you compare this film to like other shy DreamWorks films like The Boss Baby or Shark Tale. Yeah. And now we have a sequel which we've been waiting for 11 years now, which is quite as long enough, but I mean not as long as Avatar or something like that, but it is still long enough. And since this was going to be directed by one of the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse directors, it did not. But I'll give that the film did actually, is that since this film is released in 2022, like last year, which is the year where DreamWorks has come back in the game, at least I can say that this could give me a pleasant surprise. So, did it actually got my surprise? Well, to start things off about the story, of course, it may seem a bit pretty simple. It's mostly about the main characters, Puss, Kitty, and Perito, who is on a quest to the dark forest, which only to get to the wishing star so they can have their own wish. But that doesn't mean that they all can have the wishes. Only one person can. And sure, it is established at first where Puss in Boots wants to get the wishing star so that way he can have his 9 lives back after losing 8 of them. But the other characters too, like of course Kitty, Perito, and some side characters too, like Goldilocks, the Three Bears, and John himself, do have their own motives to why they want to go to Wishing Star. So yeah, it may sound like this film can be a little simple and kind of ruins the expectations of the film, right? Actually, no. I would even say that the execution is what took this simple story into actually something that actually is probably one of the best stories DreamWorks has ever told. And thanks to the execution, it actually worked with the emotional cores, which is mostly on Puss in Boots, but other characters too can have their emotional moments which most of them rely on Puss, on how he went to a swashbuckling hero to realizing that he is in deep trouble. He's deep inside of when he's going to die or not. And the end in itself is, while predictable, still it is an also scene to watch. And I can even say that this film can get pretty dark at times. Even for its tone, but a lot of dark moments include there are some characters that bleed. Not all the time, they can bleed sometimes. There's a lot of on-screen death killings and even a lot of swearing from mostly Perito, but luckily it was censored. And that's what I would say about the comedy. And I can say that this comedy here is actually pretty funny. There was actually quite a lot of jokes that did give me a laugh, of course. And mostly chuckles, of course. So I'll give that this is one of the more funniest DreamWorks films out there. And with great execution on the story, it also has great execution on the characters too. Starting off with Puss in Boots, where whether he has a great life, whenever he has 9 lives or less or whatever, he still had his fun moments as an adventurer. But now down to his 1 life, he has to get to the wishing star just so he can get his lives back. Along with his system with Kitty and Perito. But then he might start to realize whether the lives are worth it or not. Since he mostly wants to he wants to get his lives back so he can be unkillable, but to more of a realizing whether he's fine with having a last life like other characters do have, and kind of wants to go with it. And that actually kind of makes the emotional scenes actually hit up so fast, since we actually do get to see a lot of death in person. Actually makes them one of the better developments of an anime feature with the main characters. And as for Kate Softpaws, she's more of the ex-girlfriend, but yeah, she still has a hard time trying to like bond with Puss in Boots ever since he left her on her wedding day. So, yes, but the more he more bonds with Puss and Perito, the more she grows fond of him. And then there's Perito, where he can be a bit of a mix. I mean, he does have some funny scenes in there, and actually, he is quite surprisingly swears all the time, but luckily they're censored, as I said before. But he can get annoying with his childlike tone, can get on my nerves at times. But then there are the villains, which are honestly one of the better parts about the film. Starting off with Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Yes, they're mostly like the type of family who argue it off while they're trying to get a wishing star, but then they are correspond. While Goldilocks only tries to get the wish so that she can have her actual family, while she's trying to realize whether she's better off having a new family or sticking with the bear family. And of course there's Jack Horn, who is actually one of the most funniest villains of the feature. But then there's Death, and oh god, this guy is terrifying. But in probably one of the best ways so far. Well, he's the type of guy who would just love to kill a person whether they can't defend themselves with their last life. And he mostly takes an advantage on Puss because he's scared of using his last life, and Death mostly takes that an advantage so that he can get the kill. So, and obviously, whenever he whistles or makes an appearance out of nowhere, I have to get chills down my spine. So you know that you're gonna be in a rough time with Death, of course. And the actors did a great job as the characters, giving all of them emotional core and some great talents on them. But the one thing that's probably one of the best things about this movie is the animation. I know that in the Shrek films, they're not really one of the worst elements about the character designs, but I wouldn't say they're one of the best either. In Puss in Boots, however, the character designs are actually quite impressive, since they actually do fit for the type of fairy tale style that they're actually going for. And yes, I know the animation Asian people think that it has some Spider-Man into Spider-Man. He's just like how they did the same thing with the bad guys, as it kind of teach them on, I want to do that. But the animation takes it in a more of a unique type of way. The action scenes are actually quite a lot more expressive, along with the character animation actually making the action more interesting and entertaining, and a lot more of a viewing to keep people's attention. And even the colors are actually a lot more vibrant, lively, and a lot of times colorful. And I can definitely consider the animation to be the biggest upgrade to the Shrek franchise. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is one of the Shrek films I consider to be one of the best ones since Shrek 2. The story is engaging and actually quite humorous. The film can get dark at times, but in one of the best ways ever. The comedy is pretty hilarious. The animation is beautiful to look at. The characters are admiring. The action scenes are quite intense, and the actors do give it their all to make a strong performance to give the characters a lot more depth and a lot more entertainment. I don't consider this to be one of the better ones, but I consider this to be one of the best DreamWorks films out there. And along with the same ranks as other films like How to Train Your Dragon 2, Shrek 2, and The Prince of Egypt. So I consider this to be a big recommendation if you're into action or enjoy the Spider-Man to Spider-Verse style. I was not expecting this type of film to go out like this, but since DreamWorks actually really did a great job on this, it is worth admiring. And that's why I'm giving this the seal of masterpiece. This is actually kind of like the first time on like Kyle's Web's Entertainment that a film can get like some big praise. And this could be a big step for Shrek 5, who knows? it could be true. Next time on Kyle's Reviews is, well, people, we have done it. We have succeeded today. From that shitty live action film, we have gotten the animated version of the Super Mario Bros. Movie. I don't know what I was expecting from this, but I can tell right now I will be satisfied in my watch with this film. Since I am a fan of Mario, this film would definitely be a worthwhile moment in my life for this year.
Who is your favorite fearless hero? Who is your favorite fearless hero?